Dear Dhamma friends, this is the time for our Dhamma talk. To start the Dhamma talk, everyone may concentrate 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato dhamma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Katamaca sa bhikkhave majjhima patipada tathagatina abhisambuddha chakku karani jnana karani upasamaya abhinyaya sambodhaya nibbānāya samvattati Siyatidam samma ditti samma sankappo samma vācā samma kammanto samma ājīvo samma vāyāmo samma sati samma samādhi. Dear Venerable Sir, dear Dhamma friends, today is our 10th day of the retreat, 22nd of the December, and so far we have spent 9 talks on the same topic, namely the Pavatum Sutta, the turning of the wheel of Dhamma. Today it seems it is the last talk, and we can't say that we have completed the discourse. So far, anyway, we have basically touched the opening part of the discourse, that is to say, understanding of the disadvantages of the extremes, namely the gratification of the sensuous pleasure and the self-mortification. Showing the disadvantages, the Buddha, the Omniscient One, present the value of the middle path, and that is what he claimed that he achieved his total emancipation. And this middle path is enumerated in the Noble Eightfold Way, and giving this thesis, then he gives yet another way of analyzing the samsaric journey or the life problem of an individual. It says that in understanding the problem in totality, one has to learn, or one has to accept, one has to accommodate the truth of suffering. This is a completely different radical way of approach, because in the normal way we try to avoid it, we try to reduce it, or we try to get rid of it. But instead the Buddha invites us to accept it as a noble truth, unavoidable truth, take it as it is. And then only, once you change this attitude, then only you can understand the real root cause of this truth of suffering is not, as we taught, external, it is rather internal. It is not from the yesterday and tomorrow, it is here and now. There is no second person involved, you are the very person responsible. So, in order to get this correct perspective regarding the root cause of suffering, we have to have a direct approach to the truth of suffering itself. And understanding this very cause of suffering indicates your liberation is just under your nose. There is nowhere, there is no other place, there is no other person you can liberate you. Here now I am is the liberation. And by presenting this third truth, the Buddha gives the real value for a human being and the opportunity you get individually being a human. Because if you are ready to understand the truth of suffering and its cause, the answer is just there. And then moment you understand, you realize and deduce to know the truth of suffering as well as the liberation both within, then it is a matter of assimilating the pathway to realize it or really go into it. So that is the last one, the way leading to the liberation. So now last few talks, we were basically on this, the way liberating or way of liberation. That is called the fourth truth. And it is the same thing, earlier introduced as the middle path, no eightfold path. So far as the specific topic is concerned, namely the Noble Eightfold Path, we tried to deal it and understand what is the meaning of the correct view, broad view, and what is the meaning of the correct thoughts, and what are the meaning of correct word, deed, and the livelihood. And yesterday we took time to understand, being this wisdom faculty and the moral faculty is being established, how one has to exert energy in order to achieve this final liberation, that is called noble effort, or in Pali it's called virya. And then the mindfulness come into in a very prominent place. And when the virya, the energy and the mindfulness come into the proper shape, that is to say diligent effort and precise aiming, you are bound to get the concentration. That is, in other words, the proximate factors for the concentration is the mindfulness, and the proximate factor for the mindfulness is the effort. So in order to have these things get aligned, you must have to have wisdom faculty and the wisdom training and the moral training. And once they are coming to the hand in hand in harmony, you have to adjust the energy, mindfulness, align, and then concentration is the end result. That is the way one can fulfill or Noble Eightfold Path. So today we will take this last subject, the last aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path, namely the correct concentration. Away from this context, that means the context of Pavatum Sutta, elsewhere in the Sutta Pitaka, Nikayas, whenever the Buddha depicting the meaning of the correct mindfulness, the concentration, he has the stock phrase, Vivicceva kame, vivicce akusale dhammevi, savitakkam savicharam, vivekajam pecha sukham, patamajhanam upasampadya viharati. That's the starting phrase. He says, as far as the correct concentration is concerned, one has to vivicceva kame, be away from the sensuous pleasure, vivicce akusale dhammevi, and be away, do away with all the other misdeeds, physical, verbal, and all the, do away with all the defilements. And then you have to have the applying thoughts, that is to direct your mind to the object of meditation, and then have to have the inquiring mind or discursive thoughts to understand or taste the object of meditation for the moment mind has been directed. So this is called vitakka and vichara. Vitakka is known the directing or the applying the mind to the object. Vichara means understanding the particular object that you are associating, and discreetly and discriminately from the others. So when these two are aligned, you get vivekajam pecha sukha, kind of a rapture and joy, or sometimes called the gladness and the happiness. This is immaterial compared to the material kind of happiness, what normal samsaric beings are chasing behind. Here you will get in the first time in the life, kind of a happiness which is immaterial, and that is called vivekaja, born out of solitude, and not due to the physical solitude. This is due to the abandoning of obsessional kind of defilements, and therefore it is very encouraging, and it is very healing, and you feel really electric kind of a piti sukha, and that is what the concentration means at the outset. So then onward you can go to abandoning the vitakka vichara, you can go to the second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, like you can carry on. But this interpretation is called the samatha way, or calm kind of concentration. But in order to achieve the final goal, you have to have insight bias concentration too. So inside way, from vipassana way, still you have a concentration, but you will not, or you can't go to this kind of an absorption, but you can go to the access level. So access level and the absorption level, of course, two different things. As if you are entering into the house, and once you enter, it is called the absorption. While you are in the outside house, in the lawn, it is called access concentration. So vipassana entertain only the access concentration. So therefore, whenever Noble Eightfold Path is being defined, you have to understand, you have to be aware theoretically of the book knowledge, these two concentrations, at least in the theoretical level. The samatha way, according to the concentration type, the calm meditation, samatha meditation, concentration means absorption. First, second, third, fourth, it is called material kind of, and then you can go to the for another immaterial jhanic experiences or absorptions. But in the vipassana, you can maximum go up to the access concentration. So, if someone wish to understand, if someone wish to have this kind of theoretical knowledge, we have to gain the knowledge from this concentration type, from the calm type, and they are see the functional similarity of this access concentration and the absorption. So my teacher, Nissarana, in order to give this theoretical answer, he says how a yogi, specifically those who are practicing along the insight way, come to know whether his or her mind come up to that access level. He draw information or quotations from the book of discrimination, that is namely the Padisambhida Magga, and there he says 6 absentees and 4 positive factors indicate 10 aspects. So whenever these 10 aspects are there, you have to understand theoretically, your mind is at the access level. The 6 absentees are, mind is not associating the past and entertaining the regret, or not projecting to the future and the excitement. These two must be absent in the mind. As far as the mind is in the past, definitely precipitate mind, precipitate to the, what the precipitation is, the regret. It is universal truth. And then, whenever it is projecting future, the excitement. Both of them indicate your mind is not in the middle path, not concentrated. Yet another couple is, sometimes you get delighted with the object that you are dealing with, or sometimes you get a kind of a repulsion. Whenever the delighted full mind happens, the desire arises, and whenever you become repulsed, refused, the hatred can arise. So these two also must be absent. And sometimes the mind becomes very slimy and sleepiness sets in. And sometimes it is over-enthusiastic and then the perplexity sets in. Too much of energy. These two also indicate some yet another negative aspect. So, whenever the mind is not associated in the past and the future, whenever the mind is not get delighted and rejected regarding to the object, and whenever it is not slimy and not over-enthusiastic, that is a good indication, or absence of 6 factors indicate this is a kind of an access concentration function. Yet another 4 positivities you may see, Indriyana ekarasattena ekagata. The faith aspect and the wisdom aspect of your good side of the mind, both one-pointed, they are not multi-direction or diverse. Faith and the wisdom must be balanced and directed to only one way. The energy and the concentration also must be in the harmony, must not pulling each other. They must be directed to one, and mindfulness must be in the middle, monitoring everything, just like your 5 fingers. Both the mindfulness is the middle finger, and observe all the others are not multidirectional. Everything is pinpointed, one-pointed. So when that happens, it's yet another positive aspect to say mind is more towards the concentration. And when it is happening, you have to change into a special gear regarding the energy. You must know how to synchronize it. Up to that point, you have to exert energy. You have to control them and you have to monitor them. Whenever the concentration sets in, you have to only take care about the balance. So therefore, as if a vehicle is climbing on the mountain, the driver must know what is the gear to be used, and once go to the peak and when climbing down happens, you have to change the gear accordingly. So likewise, before the access concentration, just like a vehicle on the uphill, so you have to go with the heavy gear. And when it is reaching the going to the top, slowly you can go to the lighter gear. Like that, you have to understand the amount of energy you are exerting, and then make sure these good qualities are not fighting each other, but everything is parallel and forwarding to the same object. So specifically you have to take care not to not the concentration of the wisdom and the faith to interact each other, because when you become faithful, even light bit of lightness or light perception or any other good thing happen, you overestimate, and then you give up the object and overwhelmed by these good positive things. Or sometimes if negative thing happen, you get disheartened. And when these are happening, sometimes the good theoretical knowledge becomes very bright and very self-explanatory type. So if you are over-entertaining the wisdom, you will keep on analyzing and go for inferential knowledge and the deductive knowledges, so that your personal direct touch will be sacrificed and you will be just be thinking about. So these two must be well balanced. And the energy aspect and the concentration also well balanced, because if you are not exerting the necessary amount of energy, you start to feel drops. All of a sudden you get awakened and again you feel collapsing and again coming. That kind of a thing happens. If you are over-exerting energy, and keep on chasing behind the object kind of thing, the concentration will not settle properly. So therefore the concentration and the energy has to be balanced. So this is a kind of a synchronization. This synchronization not you can reach by a single effort. You can't do it by overnight. So knowing that you have to do it 1001 times, that is equal seasoning. When that only you can understand, now the mind is in the access concentration level. So at any moment it can go to absorptions. But in the Vipassana, we are not letting the mind get absorbed, but keep in the access level, so that very object that you used as your primary object, also you can see from the impermanence point of view, it is suffering nature, it is selflessness. If you get absorbed, you can't do it. So therefore, this access concentration, once you reach with that, when you become seasoned again and again and again, either this very object, the primary object, you can see from different perspectives. For example, up to the access concentration, if you are a person doing with the in-breath and out-breath, you can feel in-breath and out-breath. You can discriminate in-breath and out-breath. You can see the evolution of in-breath to in-breath. See the evolution from out-breath to out-breath. And throughout, all the sounds and pains and thoughts must be suppressed. And you must be face to face with the object. And once this access concentration achieved, you will complain, you can't see the object, it has become so subtle. At least you may say there is no difference between the in-breath and out-breath. And further, if you are quite observant, you will see while I am observing this phenomena of breathing, I can still hear the background noises. I can still feel bodily sensations and inner thoughts. But you are not much distracted if you are well instructed, if you are well seasoned. So therefore your attitudes toward the object also changes, and the primary object and the secondary object, everything appear like just objects. And further, the in-breath and out-breath, so far you related to your touching point, the difference between the in-breath and out-breath, everything ultimately just will be interpreted in terms of 4 elements. They are just heat and cold. They are just stiffness and tension. Sometimes they are vibration. Sometimes they are waves. Sometimes cohesiveness. Sometimes fluidity. Sometimes hardness. Sometimes softness. So they use the label of in-breath and out-breath. Instead you can see the stiffness, tension, movement, hardness, lightness, everything. And exactly in the pain. Bodily pain, usually so far you consider them as a secondary object or nuisance, but that also you can observe or interpret in terms of the heat and cold and stiffness, tension, movements. All the information, all the sensuous impingements going to change their language, the medium, the grammar. So when that happens, you have to really monitor it as if a person going from this earth, which is under the influence of the gravity, and once you going passing the orbit, when you are reaching to the sphere where there is no gravity, you have to get acclimatize yourself into this the gravity-less, weightless situation. Exactly the same thing happens. And therefore, before the access concentration fully mature, there is a doer, there is a meditator, there is an energy, there is a monitoring, there is a meditation. But after the access concentration pass, there is no doer, just an observer. There is no meditation as such, but everything becomes happening and everything floating. So when that happens only, you will see in breath and out breath also just mere changing of stiffness, tension, movements. Pain also just mere stiffness, tension, movements. All the things are just energies. You can't at all find any shape, any manner. Up to that point you have the shapes. Breathing you may consider as a swinging swing. Or you can tell it like a closing and opening of the door. Or it is like a thread. Or it is like a wind, whatever. But when you are passing that, you will understand there is no shape you can understand. Your whole body ultimately loses its boundaries. You can't feel whether you at all feel the breath inside or outside. Very far or near. Whether it's gross or subtle. All become mixed up. And when that happens only, if you are not reacting, but just observe in the choiceless manner, non-reactive manner, unassuming manner, you can understand one facet. One thought moment is not similar to the next thought moment. There you have to cut the time into the thinnest, small slice, thin slicing of the time. Then it becomes very electric. Then it becomes very diligent, very vigilant. What happened in fact was, earlier you were diligent, not diligent, you were negligent. Earlier you were too late to see objects so that you see only the gross form. When the mindfulness and the concentration become sharper, you are bound to see the early starting point of the object because your sensitivity increases. More and more you see more and more your mindfulness and the concentration are sensitive and vigilant, so you are bound to see the beginning of the breath, the end of the breath. In breath, beginning of the out breath, end of the out breath, together with the middle. So it says, from the beginning right to the middle to the end of the in breath. From the beginning to the right to the middle to the end of the out breath. From the beginning to right to the middle to the end of the feelings. From the beginning to the middle, the end of the sounds and the thoughts. So you find this unknown area you are completely neglecting because of the lack of your sensitivity. Now you have the access to see the beginning. When you see the beginning, it is very electric. It's very impromptu. It's quite improvised. So you will get amused and unbelievable if you are go prepared. That preparedness you can say non-reaction, unassuming, choicelessness, evenly suspended attention. So this is a task. This ultimately boils down to what? It is boiled down to everything is imperfect. Nothing happens two times if you are to see anything from beginning to middle to the end. So at the beginning you will get hilarious and encouraged and you will be really enthusiastic. But more and more you are to see this, ultimately become a burden. Ultimately become boring. Ultimately it becomes monotonous. Ultimately it becomes listless and fearful, and you lost. You feel like cornered. You feel like alienated. Because there is no boundary. Everything is just happening. So you are bound to lose your ego, and there are those who are egoistic, self-based characters becoming quite uneasy. And therefore your crafty mind and the perverted kind of ideas will ask you to open the eyes and see, or get up and go, and to change the object, or breathe fast to see whether you are still living, or touch your body and see whether all the parts are intact. So these kind of things happen. So don't worry, because this is just conservative kind of reactions. So there you have to sacrifice your body and the life And when you go further only, this kind of concentration is leading to see, if you are ready to see the beginning through the middle to the end of anything, then this is the end result. It says everything is quite impermanent. More and more you cut into thin slices of the time. And the tiniest possible particle of the matter, they are the fastness, their speed, ultimately reduced to just energies. The matter become energies. More and more you become negligent, delayed to see, and ignorant. The energy appear like matters, conglomerated, and ultimately appear like a male, female, this thing, this shape, this manner, that manner. But if you cut into thin more slices, thin slicing of the time and the cutting down of the pieces into the, macerating the pieces into the tiniest most particle, everything is like that. Exactly that happened to the new physics. We completely bewildered as to say, when is the matter become energy and energy become matter, it is completely improvised, completely electric. So therefore, earlier they thought, this is physics, this is thermal physics, and this is chemistry, this is biology, this is blah blah blah. But now everyone, they understand at the rock bottom, you can't discriminate like that. Everything coming from same, these energies. When you go back to energies, you can't maintain where you go. There's no place for you to hook. There's no hook. You can get a refuge. There's no pivot. Everything is in a flux. And that is what ultimately going to show, going to manifest as utter suffering. But this is not your suffering. That is only Buddha says, don't claim it as mine. Disclaim, this is not me, this is not mine, this is not my soul. Moment you try to commit, you suffer. Moment you try to see things as they are, you can observe just as if you are sitting by a river and you can just see the flowing river. River in its own manner. But if you fork your finger, you will get wet and river start to develop turbulence. If you put your toe and leg, still the same. So don't interfere, just see as it happens. Then you can see the world, yourself, your feelings, your body and everything in a way that you have never seen before. That is what the Buddha says. Whenever I go bypass this situation and go into this understanding of the three characteristics, starting from the impermanent, the suffering nature and the soullessness is the thesis Buddha suggests. Of course, suffering is naturally happening. The thesis the Buddha suggests is to see them as non-self point of view. And then you get the relief. So that is how he says the relief you experienced earlier, you can go with the prediction, credible way. So when you go there, you understand if the faculties are aligned, power line aligned, you get the least frictional path you can cut through. If the power is not aligned, they are ad hoc and haphazard, the transmission never happens. Your machine will experience there and there the friction, and that is what you call my suffering. When the power line line, you can see the universal suffering. That is nothing to do with you. You can easily disclaim, and that is how it is leading to the three characteristics of impermanent, suffering, and the soullessness. And as I mentioned, this is not the complete treatment of the Sutta. Later, Buddha explained these Four Noble Truths in a threefold manner. Each truth, knowledge of the truth as such, and what is the pragmatic part, and what did one come to know once you achieved it. That is Satya Jnana, Krutya Jnana, Kruta Jnana. Satya Jnana means suffering as a truth of suffering, and then what you have to do is understand totality. And once you understood, definitely you come to know, I mastered it. Exactly whenever as far as the desire is concerned, you have to understand this is the root cause of suffering. What you have to do is get rid of totally. At the beginning you feel you are a very tiny being and how can I deal with the big gamut of this suffering. But you can do it. Once finished, you come to know you finished it. And then exactly the emancipation, the Nibbana, also you have to understand if there is a suffering, there should have a way of that liberation. And there should have a liberation. And then what you have to do is realize it. And once realized, definitely you come to know that you are true. And as far as the way leading to suffering also, even in the world, if there's a way a mad person can be cured, so equal argument you can say to fall into madness also there should have a method. Exactly the way liberation, where the liberation also should have a method, and that method you have to meditate, that cultivate. That is what the meditation means. And meditators think it's impossible in this life, impossible in this retreat, and all the kind of things. But whenever it is finished, it will be a real knowledge you understand, I finished it. So this is a go into the 12-fold expression, and then the Buddha explained to this for 5 months, the first audience, 4 months. Before I come up with this much of clarity, I never claim in this world of seen and unseen beings and the rulers and the subjects that I have seen. But now I tell you, I experience in this threefold manner, 12 way of presentation, and therefore I am telling, I see, I got into such a equanimity, not because any factor can change this equanimity, disturb me, therefore I am liberated. When it is being uttered, the very first one listening, namely the Kondanya, he came to know through the listening and his contemplation, everything arising in the world has the nature of passing away. So if you think world is a good thing, the passing away will precipitate to something negative and discouragement. But if you come to know the world means suffering, whatever arising is suffering, if it is these, passing away is a good thing. So therefore if you have a world as something sensuous, something to a pleasure principle, then passing away will be a negative thing. But if you see it is utter suffering, utter friction, utter wear and tear, the passing away of that suffering is a liberation. So when Kondanya uttering that sentence, the Buddha says, "Oh Kondanya, you are true." So this is how the first ever transmission happened from one mind to the other, and the Sutta is trained, being torn from the seen beings to the unseen to the whole world, this Buddha's utterance, and that is how the wheel turned, the wheel of Dhamma came into turn. Still we are, under the blessing of that, we are almost about to commemorate 600 years after this starting. So we are also trying to understand according to the knowledge we have, applying ourselves. So I hope these talks and sharing will help you to get more encouraged and to trust upon your meditation and to fix aim so that you may experience the truth in this very life. Thank you very much for listening.